Well, hey, rail fans and model railroaders. Welcome back to another episode of Getting Back on Track with Steve
and Roxy. So with all that great foam work done, it's time to get out the plaster cloth and the Sculptamold, and let's get this work done.
Okay, in order to continue on to the next steps, there's a few things we need to take care of in regards to the tunnel. The first being is we need to connect up our cork and have it set up so the track can be laid in here when we're ready to extend that out. So I'll need to remove all of this. We'll need to cut a piece of foam to fit, glue that in, and then we can lay some cork down to finish that part. That way we can permanently install the mountainside. So let's go ahead and get after that. So I jumped over into our box of scraps and I did find a piece that would fit right up there, except for one small little sliver. So I just cut another sliver piece to fit in, and we're gonna put it in with this Loctite PL3000 construction adhesive. So the next order of business is we decided this area was just a little too high because when we do any scenic work, it's going to completely block this out. So we're thinking if we cut this down lower here, because we can come back up this way, we can put rock along here as a berm, but I think it'll work out much better. So we're going to go ahead and cut this away a little bit more. So we want to leave some of this up there. Want to come in this way. I want to get all the way down here and start working our way back up. And then we can round this down. So we could bring this mountain up into this way easily. We can build this up with a rock and bankment. So I think that's going to be a little better because you'll be able to see into the scene better. And I think it'll work. Okay, now the next thing we want to do, to prepare to lay our plaster cloth, we've got big gaps where we used all these pieces of foam in here. So we're going to fill these gaps. You can see they're pretty large. So that'll be a problem when we lay plaster cloth. Okay, this is going to be easy to fix because I got a lot of Sculptamold. I'm going to use Sculptamold instead of plaster because I will have less cracking, and I think the fibrous material in there will help fill better. So we're just going to make a little batch. That should be enough. I've got my water here. Just going to add a little bit of water. Yeah, maybe that was a bit much with the water. Let's add a little more here. That's a little better. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of it and we're just going to start shoving it in the holes here. Just kind of work it in. Some of these gaps probably aren't a problem, but I've got enough Sculptamold. I might as well just go ahead and use it up and try and fill these areas a bit. Stuff is sure sticky. We're just getting all this excess and kind of stick her in here. Okay, so then we can wet our hand. Just come back and rub it out a little bit. This will just get rid of any big lumps. Okay. So I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that looks real good. Okay, now the next step, we got our hole, we snapped a line. We're gonna go ahead and lay our cork down. So then once that dries, we can get our track in place, and then we can do a permanent install of the mountain back here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna use this regular Elmer's white glue like we've been using all along. I'm just gonna put a bead of it down here like so. And of course, I'll have to get on the other side and finish it off. But we'll just get it all brushed in here. Okay. Just kind of push it in place, and then we're gonna go ahead and pin her down. So this always sets up pretty good. If I set this up tonight, tomorrow morning I'll be able to come in here and just go ahead and pull it right up and get the track laid down. And we use plenty of pins because we want to make sure everything stays nice and flat. Okay, so now we got to run to the outside and finish gluing it up over there. So let me move everything over there, and I'll finish this last little bit. Here we go. Second piece is always a little easier because you just gotta butt it right up. Now run to the outside real quick and finish that last little bit of pin. And then we just gotta wait. We'll double check to make sure everything fits okay. Now with all the track cork pinned in place, we're gonna go ahead and set our mountain back in place. This fits right there. And then we're gonna take our portal. Perfect. Yeah, everything fits like it's supposed to. I call that a success. All right, the next step is we need to get some track in place. So we need to put down our turnout, and I got a piece of flex track that's gonna run us on out. So I'm using this turnout, this piece of track, and we're gonna use some Alex Plus silicone caulk. This dries clear. This is what we've been using all along here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and squeeze a little down here. All right, I'm gonna step outside the layout to get that last little piece in there. Okay, we come back in. We're gonna put our turnout into place. And then we'll pin that on down. Okay, that's all in place. Pin this down. Okay, so when you're doing these, you want to be careful about getting any of the caulking inside the rail mechanism here. You don't need it gumming up the works for you. So we just cycle it a couple times to check it, wipe any residue we might see. Okay. Now we can take our piece of flex track. Okay, so these okay. Let me go outside and make sure I got it fixed correctly on the outside here. We should be in pretty good shape. All right, stepping outside again to pin it down, then we'll be done with this part. So we found it easier to go ahead and cut a whole bunch of strips first. And then with the mountains sitting over here on the peninsula where it's easy to get to, Roxy's going to go ahead and apply all this plaster cloth.
We're just going to go over the whole surface, working it into the crevices and making it nice and smooth on the mountain so it's ready for Sculptamold.
A lot of this surface is just fine with just using plaster cloth, but the area along the top where we have a flattened area, we thought would be a good spot to add some Sculptamold to make some contour to it. This also gets a nice area that we can put some trees and brush and things like that onto, because you wouldn't naturally see a lot of trees and brush on a real steep cliff face like that.
More so in the places where a lot of small rocks have collected and more dirt has washed into those gullies.
Right. But this is really a fun part of it, you know, it's it's kind of fun to get in here playing with the plaster cloth and the Sculptamold. It's like arts and crafts.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice and messy, but this is the kind of work I like. Roxy's working away and I'm just supervising.
Dad picked up a whole lot of this plaster cloth when we first started the layout.
Yeah, there's that, and then Dad had a whole lot of it at his place too. So when we cleared out his train room, I inherited quite a bit of material from him. We're going to make good use of it.
So this is where we forgot to turn our camera on. But look at all the stuff we did. This is really coming together.
So we're going to start with the Sculptamold. Now, when we did the mountain, we discovered that if you didn't add enough water, it could set up pretty doggone fast. We had some of it setting up in the bowl. So this time we're going to be putting it pretty wet. And while it may take a little longer to dry, it gives us a lot more time to work with it. And it smooths out a little easier when you're putting it down.
It was a lot easier to shape that way.
Of course, it makes it a lot goopier. It really sticks to your hands when you're working it. But we're just going to lay it in there, and you just fill in the areas you want, add the contours, smooth things out. That really adds another dimension to the landscape. Plus, it gives me an opportunity to fill in some of those areas where the piers are at.
So we're kind of lumping this up here to create a rise right into the edge of the upper level.
Here we are, we're just piling it on. Going to make a bit of a mound and a hill in this spot here. We're thinking down the road we'll be able to put quite a few trees and brush right in this area. So it'll look real nice with the train ducking around coming off the bridge and around behind the trees.
It'll create a lot of dimension. This is also where we learned that we should have taped over all the tracks before we began this part of the project.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what I was thinking. When we did the mountain, I took the time to use the blue painter's tape, and I completely covered all the tracks to make sure we didn't make a mess with them. This time, for some reason, it didn't even dawn on me to do that.
We were too excited to get started.
I think so. We're so amped up over the changes that we just wanted to get in there and get it done. But we'll pay the price later when we go to clean all this mess up so we can run some trains.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing, a lot of this area here, we have a lot of cast hydrocal rocks. And we'll come back later as we're detailing out the river more and determining areas where we want to place some of those rocks, and we'll use Sculptamold to get them into position and smooth around them, and then we can paint those up as we're working to detail out the river. And my thinking is a lot of this embankment's going to be fairly smooth.
Worn down by the river.
But it is nice to see it taking shape. And I think one of my favorite parts about this is as you get a more three-dimensional look on the layout part of it, it really ties into the background really well. So it's really exciting to see the whole 3D effect of it. So this is going to be good once we get it painted up and we can start putting the ground cover in.
Well, there you go. It's amazing what a little Sculptamold and plaster cloth can do to change a scene on the layout. All this scene needs now is some paint, some ground cover, and then we can get into putting bushes and trees on the layout.
But first, we're going to jump to the other side. We're going to put a return tunnel in the other corner and then add the mountains and terrain that we need to tie the whole scene together. So, in the meantime, you guys have a good time running your trains and working on your layouts.
Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you're notified of our next video.
And we'll see you here back again on Getting Back on Track with Steve
and Roxy. Bye, guys.
Bye, all.